Welcome back to the Winterberry Wildlife Tech Series. Today I'll be taking a closer look at the GardeProT5WF white flash trail camera. I'll go over the basic features of this camera, share some video comparison, and of course, open up the unit to see what's inside. Let's start. The key feature of this camera are the white LEDs, which allow it to take color photos and videos at night. These LEDs are clearly visible on the top of the camera case. Opening up the clamshell case, we see a covered battery compartment on the right and a large color LCD screen with menu buttons and an on-off switch on the left. The camera takes 8 AA batteries. The manufacturer recommends lithium batteries for longest life, but notes the camera will accept alkaline and nickel metal hydride rechargeable batteries as well. The user's manual notes that the camera may not get a complete charge out of the nickel metal hydride cells due to the lower voltage. The screen is 2.4 inches wide, the largest in its class. It's bright and relatively easy to read, even in the field. The menu provides easy access to a lot of functions way beyond the basic photo and video setup. Just to note a few. The video duration is configurable for day and night videos with discrete values between 3 seconds and 5 minutes. Internationalization is provided via time and date format options as well as different language options for menu items. The review screen is large, featuring an on-screen navigation reminders as well as readily readable info strip featuring date and time down to the second. The camera consumes 1.2 watts while taking daylight video with no flash and 2.9 watts while taking nighttime shots. This translates to roughly 35 hours of total daytime video or 15 hours of nighttime video on a new set of lithium batteries. This is very good compared to cameras in its class, especially for those nighttime captures. Now we'll take a look at some video. Unfortunately, the video to follow contains scavenging by animals of a roadkill deer carcass and may not be appropriate for all viewers. Apologies. The camera is set on a tripod about 10 feet from the carcass. We'll start with a video from the night. The color on this red fox and striped skunk are pretty good. The audio allows us to hear the scissor-like slicing of the fox's carnassial teeth, but there's also some annoying background noise which seems to come and go. Here is a daytime clip. This is in a shaded area out of direct sunlight, but the camera does a good job with image quality under these low light conditions. To give you some perspective, here is a comparison of the same set between the T5WF and a Reconix WP9 white flash camera. Now let's open up the camera and see what's inside. We'll start by removing the SD card and the batteries. The main camera compartment comes apart by removing these 4 small Phillips head screws. With the 4 screws out, the faceplate comes off. I pull the faceplate straight up. This separates a connector inside the case for the LED flash. I gently rock the faceplate up and down slightly and it comes right apart. Now you can see the connector here for the flash. You can also see a twisted pair of wires connecting the microphone to the main circuit board, as well as wires with the power coming from the battery case. In a nice feature, there is a removable connector for the microphone wire. Here I gently pull it out to remove it. Now that the main circuit board is free, I'll point to some of the key components. Up here is the smarts, a GOKE GK7202 system on chip. This includes a quad-core Cortex A7 processor, hardware video processing pipeline, LCD display controller, and I/O needed to connect to SD cards and audio. This powerful processor allows the user interface some zip and helps reduce the trigger time. This is the double EEPROM that contains the firmware and stores the user settings. There is room here for 2 PIR sensors. Other GardePro camera models have a second PIR sensor and another set of Fresnel lenses, but as you can see, the T5WF only uses 1 central sensor. I suspect this configuration leads to fewer false triggers. The next thing we'll do is to remove the white flash LED board. This is pretty simple. Since the connector is already apart, all we need to do is remove these 4 screws. The LED comes right out, and now you can see the array of LEDs which appear yellow. There is also a light sensor used to determine whether the LEDs are needed at night and an LED for the aim test. We'll put the LED board back together now to get it out of our way. And now we can remove the main circuit board. It comes out with these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screws. There's no need to remove this one, which is for the LCD bracket. There's a little tab here that holds the circuit board in. I use a little plastic spudger to pull the tab back and release the circuit board. To remove the board, I lift up on the top and with a little patience and jiggling, pull it up and out. Now we can see the back side of the board. I'll point out a few things. First, you can notice the buttons are not illuminated. They are opaque and there are no LEDs on the circuit board. So you want to service this camera in daylight or with a flashlight. Here are the buttons for the menu keyboard and an on-off slide switch. Here is the SD card holder. You can see that there's room on the board for a micro SD card holder, though it's not installed on this model. This is good, since I find micro SD cards very difficult to handle in the field. One of the things that I like about this camera is the large 2.4-inch color LCD display, which you can see here. Okay, now we're ready to put the camera back together. You want to pay close attention to a couple of undersized plastic alignment pins next to the screw post. These pins fit very snugly into the holes on the circuit card. Also, make sure that the slider for the on-off switch is in the same position as the switch itself so that it fits right in on top. Now we can put the circuit board back in, sliding the power connector into position and applying a little pressure to push in the alignment pins. Once the alignment pins are in, we can apply a little more pressure to the top left corner of the board to snap it in. At this point, the board should be tight and flat in position. And now we can reinstall the 6 screws. Finally, I'll point out the main image sensor and lens assembly. It includes an IR filter motor, which I'm pretty sure is not needed for this white flash camera, but is left in to provide a single mounting mechanism for the lens. GardePro uses a Sony Starvis sensor, which works great in low light conditions. To put the rest of the circuit board in, we snap the connector for the microphone back in its place. We want to make sure that the microphone cable and power cable don't get in the way of the image sensor or the PIR sensor by pushing them over to the side. Now we carefully align the front panel in its spot above the case and apply gentle pressure directly downward to re-engage the connector between the LED board and the main circuit board. Finally, we install the 4 screws, reinstall the battery and SD card, and turn the camera back on. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to see more videos on trail camera technology that will help you get more out of your camera traps.